So a lot of you may not know, I originally got my start in fight photography in Dallas, Texas, and shot for a number of promotions out there, and most notably with Extreme Knockout Promotions, which is probably one of the biggest and longest running MMA promotions in the state of Texas. But for the last 2 years, I've been living out here in Phoenix, Arizona. And while I love the desert living and love going back to the West Coast, the fight scene's been pretty dry. There's been the pandemic. There's been a very just sporadic reopening. A lot of gyms closed down, so fighters couldn't train. And it was just, there was nothing going on. But in the last couple of months, things have begun to reopen, and fight promoters are starting to kind of recapture their market share here in Phoenix, Arizona. And I was blessed by my wife for Father's Day to attend a local promotion, RUF MMA, and they threw their RUF 41 fight card this past Sunday, Father's Day, at the Celebrity Theater in Phoenix, Arizona. So first of all, let's start with the arena. The Celebrity Theater, I never been there. Again, pretty new to Phoenix, only been here for 2 years, but never been to the Celebrity Theater. It's a small venue, obviously designed for like music concerts, and it features like a circular stage in the middle of the arena, and then there's seats in like this 360 kind of panoramic placement around the stage, which, let me tell you, makes for an amazing fight venue, because there was not a bad seat in the house. Everywhere you sat, you had the same view of the cage. And so my wife sprung for like they didn't want general admission, but the next highest up. They weren't VIP, they were in the middle, they were the lower level. And I think we were maybe 7 or 8 rows back from the cage, and just an amazing sight line. And you know, walking around the venue, nobody had a bad seat, and I think that's important, because it's one thing to have an event and a venue and try to shoot for the stars, and everybody wants these massive stadium shows, but not everyone's gonna be successful in that. And sometimes those stadiums aren't designed for fights, and they create crappy sight lines, and the fans are like, "Ah, this is great, but I can barely see the cage." Not the case here at the Celebrity Theater, so shout out to RUF MMA and the Celebrity Theater for putting on a great show and matching it within a great venue. Now, I will say that the security there was a little bit heavy-handed. I don't know if it's because of the COVID protocols or just it's kind of how they roll, but you know, like women couldn't bring purses in that weren't clear. There was a lot of just heavy-handed kind of security protocols. It's 120 degrees out here in Phoenix right now. And so nearly everybody carries a hydro flask or, you know, a knockoff hydro flask with them full of water. Those weren't allowed into the venue, so there was a lot of disgruntled people having to walk back to their cars in the heat to put their stuff in the car. But all in all, I think it was just an amazing venue. So now onto the fight. The fight card was stacked, and for a Sunday afternoon card that began at like 3:30 local time, they announced that there was going to be 14 fights. Now you might think, oh my God, 14 fights. That's either great or you're in for a long haul in terms of the length of time it's going to take to go through 14 fights. I think it ended up being 13 fights. I think a fight fell out, but nearly 90% of the card was amateur. So you're looking at like the first 9 bouts being amateur. But it went surprisingly well. I mean, RUF MMA, like, shout out to their production and their production team for keeping things lively. The DJ was bringing the energy when the moments in between fighter walkouts. The fights themselves were amazing, but the fighters, like, they would get a fight would end, they would go on to the next one. There was no downtime, there was no dead time, and I think it just kept everybody engaged, and it made it feel like you weren't. I think the card total was maybe 3.5 hours. Which flew by. Like, I felt like we were only there for like an hour, and like all of a sudden we were at the main event. Like, wow, this thing is flying by. But the production was amazing. The way the announcer was great. Just the energy, the atmosphere. They kept the people engaged throughout the entirety of the card, and I think that's super important. Now for the fights, the fights delivered. I'm still relatively new to the fight scene here in Phoenix. So, and the gym I train out of doesn't, we have a couple of fighters, but none of them are on the card. And to see fighters from across the state, a lot of them from Tucson, and a lot of them from the Phoenix area and West Valley, to see these guys, these young men and women in the cage, just kind of see the local talent, was amazing. Everyone brought it, a lot of technical skill sets, a lot of showmanship, a lot of gamesmanship, and I think every fight ended before the final bell. Like, I think the longest fight maybe went to the third round. It was just an action-packed fight, a fight card. Every fighter brought their best in their A game. The crowd was loving it. There was knockouts. There were submissions, and it was good. There was brawls, like true bloody drag out fights, and I think it was great. I think it was just an amazing fight card. The fight card delivered. The fighters delivered. So shout out to all the local fighters out here in Phoenix and the surrounding areas for just bringing it. Just an amazing time. So, I guess my final summary is, for being my first fight card here in Phoenix, I thought that the talent here in the Copper State, amazing, and two, shout out to RUF MMA. They did an amazing promotion, and they announced at the event that they were going to partner with the venue and have cards on a monthly basis, which I think is truly amazing, because I think that's how you build a fight community. That's how you build a buzz, and it's kind of what XKO did in Dallas, Texas, and Fort Worth and Arlington, to kind of build up their promotion as an MMA powerhouse in the state of Texas. So I applaud RUF for doing an amazing thing and giving into the fight community and giving fighters an opportunity to showcase their talents, and build up the fight community as a whole here in Phoenix and in the state of Arizona. I'll also say it was pretty weird to be at a fight and not be shooting a fight. It was probably one of the few times in the last 10 years that I was actually there as a fan. And it was cool to just kind of take it all in, and you forget why you fell in love with the sport in the first place, right? You forget that it was the fight community, it was the energy, it was the primal excitement of seeing two combatants in a situation where the better man or woman will come out on top. And it was just nice to be able to cheer and to root and to just kind of thoroughly enjoy the fights for what they were, in a live setting, and not be so concerned with shots and, is the lighting, is my ISO correct, is my white balance good. I snuck in my Sony ZV-1 just to kind of get some clips of the events to kind of show you kind of what I'm talking about, but it was kind of liberating to not be on the clock and just to take fights in as a fight fan. And so, though I will say I did get some Jones in my hands and thinking of all the shots that I could have gotten. So maybe, one day you'll see me a cage side here at promotions in Arizona capturing the fights, Lord willing. So again, in summary, RUF MMA, RUF 41, great card, amazing job. If you're in the Phoenix area, I highly encourage you to check them out and support them. The fighters are amazing. The venue at the Celebrity Theater was great. The energy was amazing, and I can't speak highly enough of my first live fights here in Phoenix, Arizona. So, with that being said, this is Sean Malone with I Shoot Fights, and I'll see you at the fights. Now that we're open, let's get it.